Look at that. Clean, polished, impressive. Now, let me ask you something uncomfortable. When was the last time an AMV actually surprised you? Not impressed technically, not made you think like, wow, that's clean, but genuinely caught you off guard. For a lot of us, that moment is harder and harder to remember. And I think that's a problem worth talking about, because the AMV community has some of the most talented self-taught editors on the internet, and yet a huge chunk of us are stuck. Not in skill, but in growth. And those two things are very different. Let's start with the most common reason editors plateau. We get comfortable. You figure out your style early on. Maybe it's a heavy motion blur with this bead drop. Maybe it's clean typography with overlays and color grading. It works. People like it. You get comments, you get views, and so naturally, you keep doing it. But here's the thing about comfort zones in editing. They stop being comfort zones pretty quickly. They now become cages. When you only edit to your strength, you never build new ones. And the editors who are genuinely growing, they are trying out things they haven't figured out yet. Studying techniques outside their genre, making edits that aren't really guaranteed to perform well. Growth requires friction, and most of us are doing everything we can to avoid it. When was the last time you tried an editing style that felt wrong for you? If you have to think hard about that answer, you already know where the problem is. The second issue is one that the community has kind of built for itself. It's this feedback loop. This is how it usually goes. You post an edit, the comments come in. It's clean, it's nice, the effects are so smooth. That feels great. But notice what's missing from those comments. Any actual critic. Because we've built a culture in the AMV space that is very incredibly supportive on the surface. But it's almost allergic to honest feedback. And I get why. Nobody wants to be the person who tears down somebody's hard work. But there's a massive difference between tearing someone down and giving them useful feedback. And when all we hear is praise, we lose this ability to see our own blind spots. Think about the editors you genuinely admire. I'd bet most of them had either mentors who were brutally honest with them, or they were part of a small, tight-knit group where people actually challenged each other. The public comment section of YouTube or Discord will never replace that. Likes and view counts will never replace that. If you want to grow, you have to find people who will tell you what isn't working, and you have to be willing to hear this without getting defensive. Here's another one that's sneaky. A lot of editors watch MVs constantly. You're in the community, you're keeping up with the releases, you're seeing what's trending. But watching and studying are two completely different things. Watching is passive, while studying is intentional. When you watch a great MV, do you pause it and then ask why this specific cut works? Do you look at how the editor handled the difficult scene transition? Do you notice when something doesn't work and then think about what you would have done differently? The editors who grow fastest are almost always the ones who treat other people's edits like a masterclass. So next time you watch something that blows your way, don't just move on to the next video. Sit with it, break it down, figure out exactly what made it the way it did, and then try to apply that logic to your own work. We also need to talk about trends, because this one is genuinely a double-edged sword. Trends aren't bad, but learning a trending effect or editing style teaches you new tools. It can get that video of yours to be seen. It also shows you what the community is responding to, and there's actually real value in that. A lot of editors spend so much time chasing what's popular right now that they never develop a signature identity. Always a version of whatever blew up last month. The audiences actually notice this, even if they can't articulate it. There is a difference between an editor whose work you can recognize in the first 5 seconds and an editor who just makes content that looks like whatever is trending. Your goal shouldn't be to make like the most on-trend edit. It should be to make the most you. What actually fixes this? First thing, you need to intentionally edit outside your style. Once every few months, pick a genre or a technique that you've never done before. And if you're not so sure about it, you can always make something bad. That's fine. This discomfort is the point of this practice. 2. Find 1 or 2 editors that you trust and then ask them for some real feedback. Not something as brief as, what do you think? Be very specific. Ask them what isn't working or what's working here, what felt a bit boring to them. 3. Study these edits. Don't just watch them. So the next AMV that you love, spend 20 minutes or so breaking it down and trying to understand why it works before you move on. 4. Give yourself a project that has intentional constraints. Something like do not include motion blur, do not include effects, just do cuts and timing. These constraints are what end up forcing creativity out of you. 5. Stop measuring your growth by your views. These views are a measure of distribution, not how much better you got. The real metric is, does the work that you did, let's say 3 months ago, make you cringe a little bit? If yes, then that means you're growing. But if it still looks the same, that's something that is worth paying attention to. The AMV community has real talent in it. People who taught themselves things that the professionals had to charge thousands of dollars to learn. But talent without growth is just this potential sitting still. So you actually got into this because something about editing moved you, or maybe some AMV or an edit hit you in a way that you wanted to come back and recreate. Don't let this routine and comfort pull you so far from that original feeling that you end up forgetting that you are chasing that in the first place. If this video is a hit for you, drop it in the comments. I'd genuinely love to know what part landed. And if you disagree, then that's even better. Let's talk about it in the comments. See you in the next one.